I'm constantly hearing the same story from people who buy kitchen gear online. The pictures look slick, the specs promise restaurant-grade performance, and then the first time you plug it in it feels like you've bought a piece of junk. That disappointment hits hard when you're trying to run a small concession stand or a school fundraiser and you need reliable equipment that actually does the job. If you're on the fence about a hot dog roller grill, this review is going to walk you through the real-world experience so you can avoid that costly mistake. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Nemco 8075 Rolle Grill is marketed as a 75 hot dog capacity machine that can churn out up to 1,500 dogs per hour. In plain English, that means you can load a full rack of 75 frankfurters and have them done in roughly 3 minutes, assuming you keep the rollers turning and the temperature steady. For anyone who's ever tried to serve a crowd at a sports game or a county fair, that speed is a game changer. You'll notice the difference the moment you start a batch. The chrome rollers spin smoothly, the heat is evenly distributed across the length of the grill, and the dogs come out with a consistent snap on the casing and a uniform brown color. There's no need to flip each one individually, which saves a lot of hands-on time when you're dealing with a line of hungry customers. Now, let's talk about the setup. The unit runs on a standard 110-volt, 15-amp circuit, so you'll need a dedicated outlet that can handle the draw. If you're operating out of a portable trailer or a small kitchen, make sure the wiring is up to code, otherwise the breaker will trip before you even get to the first batch. The grill itself sits on a sturdy metal base with wheels that lock in place, making it relatively easy to roll into position for cleaning or storage, but it's definitely not something you'll want to lug around a backyard barbecue. The control panel is minimal, just a thermostat knob and an on-off switch, so there's no steep learning curve. You set the temperature, give the rollers a few seconds to reach the set point, and you're ready to load. One of the practical strengths that shows up in everyday use is how the chrome rollers handle grease. Because the surface is polished, the hot dog drippings don't cling as aggressively as they do on a plain steel surface. That means less mess on the rollers and a simpler cleanup routine. I've seen operators wipe the rollers down with a damp cloth after each shift and the residue is minimal. The heat distribution is also pretty reliable. The grill's design channels the hot air through a series of ducts that keep the temperature even from one end of the rack to the other. In a real-world scenario, say, a school lunch program where you need to serve 300 dogs in under an hour, that consistency prevents the dreaded half-cooked, half-burnt batch that can turn a happy customer into a complaint. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs that only become apparent after you've had the unit for a week or two. First, the size. At 75 hot dogs capacity, the grill is roughly the size of a small refrigerator, so you need a decent amount of floor space. If your kitchen or concession area is tight, you might end up with a machine that dominates the layout and makes it hard to move other prep stations around. Second, while the chrome rollers reduce sticking, they do require regular maintenance. If you let grease build up over several days without a proper wipe down, the surface can become slick and the dogs may start to slide, which can cause uneven cooking. The manual recommends a weekly deep clean using a non-abrasive cleaner, and that's something you have to schedule into your routine. Another consideration is the noise level. The rollers are powered by a motor that hums continuously while the grill is on. In a busy fairground that's barely noticeable, but in a small indoor venue it can add a low-level buzz to the ambient noise. It's not deafening, but it's something to be aware of if you're serving in a setting where you need a relatively quiet atmosphere like a senior center or a community library event. So who should actually buy this thing? If you're running a concession stand that regularly serves dozens of hot dogs per hour, a catering business that includes hot dog stations in larger events, or a school or church that hosts fundraisers where you expect a steady line of customers, the Nemco 8075 pays its price in speed and consistency. Its capacity and throughput let you keep the line moving, which translates directly into higher sales and happier patrons. It also integrates well with existing commercial kitchens that already have the necessary electrical infrastructure, meaning you won't need to invest in additional wiring or a generator. Conversely, if you're a home cook who only fires up the grill for a weekend family gathering, this is probably overkill.